We're in a new era. We're hopefully seeing bright pastures, as they say, ahead of us. You know, we got the political turmoil behind us. We're with a new administration. COVID's right around the corner. So this is 2021, and let's talk about how to start off this new year by talking about celebrity divorces and what's going on. I mean, I've got to know. I never read this stuff. I rely on you guys to give me the up to date so that I'm in there. And let's see if we can make this interesting. So, Stephanie, why don't you go first? What do you got for us?
Okay, I'm going to start with the case. It's Kelly Clarkson and Brandon Blackstone. So Kelly Clarkson's the winner of American Idol. She's America's sweetheart. She's going through a pretty highly contested divorce. Her husband, Brandon Blackstone, he's a music manager. I'm not too sure if he was her music manager or what's going on, but it was a 7-year marriage and there's 2 minor kids who are 4 and 6. So what makes this a bit complicated is that Brandon lives in the state of Montana and Kelly lives here in California. There's a few issues at hand. The first one is that Brandon's seeking $436,000 per month in child support and spousal support.
Wow.
That's $300,000 in spousal support and $135,000 in child support. I don't know what he's going to do with that money. I don't know why he needs so much money, but he's also seeking $2 million in attorney's fees.
Wow. So that tells us that Kelly's making a lot of money.
Yeah, she's doing pretty well for herself. It came out in the news that he actually has 7 attorneys that are working on his case. So,
holy cow.
Yeah, he has a whole office.
So the divorce is here in California?
Yeah, the divorce is here in California.
Where is she living?
She's here in LA, and he's in Montana.
Oh, it's the other way around. Okay, so the divorce is here, he's in Montana. And so if she's going to have to pay $400,000 a month or something like that, some ludicrous amount of money, it raises a couple of issues. One of them, I think, is, you know, we could always go and extrapolate with the Disso master as to how much her income is, right? I mean, we could figure out what, you know, that basis is for that child support and spousal support. Of course, we don't have it broken down yet, but we could get some estimates. Very wealthy lady.
Yeah. And then another factor that came into play is who has, you know, primary custody of the kids. Where are the kids going to be, Montana or LA? So dad actually filed a motion requesting that the kids go back and forth from LA to Montana, LA, Montana, or that they reside with him in Montana. So court said no. They granted Kelly primary physical custody. The court found that the kids have never resided in Montana. And now dad has to travel to LA to spend time with the kids for visitation at Kelly's home.
You know, I always scratch my head when people think that they could exercise 50% custody when they live in different states or even different parts of the states that are really far. It sounds to me like, you know, putting himself first and not the children first in that case.
Right. I mean, it's definitely not in their best interest to be traveling back and forth, especially right now in light of the pandemic.
With the amount of money that he's receiving, he could easily move to California and live within close distance, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay. What other issues arise here? So I've noticed, you know, because I look at the news every day for family law cases and I see her name coming up. I haven't been following it, but this is a woman that had started on, I think it was like You Got Talent or American Idol or something.
American Idol.
And she's gone from, I don't know if it's rags to riches, but certainly I don't think that she was worth that type of money when she came into this, you know, and I think that the kids are pretty young, aren't they? I mean, she's not really.
Yeah, they're about 4 and 6.
Holy cow. Wow. What other issues arise on this thing? Oh, I know what it is. How about the high income earner issue that comes with people having to pay child support? You know, when people are earning extraordinary amounts of income, then the guideline formula normally is not used, or at least, you know, the attorney representing that person is going to argue that that's way too much child support under these circumstances. My guess is that if the Disso master is saving $400,000 a month, at least a large portion of that is going to be child support. So she's probably going to be arguing, or should be arguing, that this is a high income earner exception, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
I think in the papers it also says that she voluntarily offered to pay for all of the children's expenses, and dad still came around asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, there's a whole analysis that goes along with that, as far as what the children really need. And of course, the court has to take into consideration both parents' standard in life. So what would a kid that is whose parents are wealthy to that way, what would they expect? Private school,
Right.
some definitely some extra things that the normal child wouldn't have. But the court can and probably will in most cases cut it off at a certain point. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Anthony, go ahead. I'm sorry, Stephanie.
No, yeah, I was going to say, you're right. It's a very active case. It's in the news basically every day. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, and you know what? Before we move on, I noticed that she's been making a lot of public appearances talking about her divorce and and things of that nature. I guess that's a PR thing for people. It seems like whenever these celebrities go through a big divorce, next thing you know it, they're in the public, all shiny and new and talking and stuff, and I just wonder what that's all about. Is it to keep their brand name alive, or are they trying to put a good face on a tough situation, or what?
Yeah, probably. I think win some favor, maybe. All her quotes are, "I'm a mama bear. I'm going to do whatever it takes to defend my kids and take care of them."
Oh, okay. So her quotes are, she's going to fight for her kids. I thought it was all about, no, it's an amicable thing. We're going to be working out, but it's nothing like that. This is a contentious divorce.
This is a contentious divorce.
And he's got 7 attorneys on his case. Are they from separate law offices, or are they just a firm that has the entire staff working on his case?
I think it's the one firm with 7 attorneys entirely on that case.
Okay. Well, in my opinion, that's probably too much, but you know what? To each his own, right?
Right.
So, okay. So, Anthony, what do you got for us?
All right. So you'll like this one because you'll definitely recognize one of these names, Kristen Cavallari and Jay Cutler. I know that you're a Bears fan, so.
Why? You know what? I have to ask you. That surprised me. I do see that coming up in the Google articles as well.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Cutler was that big of a celebrity, but apparently he is, because this divorce is all over the place. So tell me about it.
So, I mean, we talked a little bit about like kind of keeping the information in the press or out of the press. And, one of the ways that I see a lot of celebrities communicating with their fans or with the public is through their Instagram. And they announced their divorce back in November of 2020. And as far as I am aware, and it seems like they've been reporting, it's been a fairly amicable process. So not every single celebrity divorce is going to be, hundreds of millions of dollars in attorney's fees. There are very reasonable divorces that just amicably split. I think they both said that they were in 2 different spaces in their life. They were married for about 7 years and dating for 3 years before that. Kristen Cavallari, obviously, she's the big celebrity here. I think she's got 4 million followers on Instagram compared to, I think, what Jay Cutler has from being the quarterback of the Bears. But yeah, she's posting great pictures on Instagram. She's saying she's moving on with her life. She looks great. She feels really, quote unquote, really damn good about turning 34 and having it be a really roller coaster of a year.
So, this is how I'm ignorant on all of this stuff. I don't even know the actress, but she's a big celebrity apparently.
Oh yeah.
She's it's like what was it, the Orange County or
Laguna Beach first.
Laguna Beach.
Yeah, and then she was on I think she really kind of hit it big with The Hills, which is kind of like the big TV show.
It's like reality.
Yeah.
Reality television.
Exactly. So which is kind of funny because on the show you kind of get a sense of all like the drama and the relationship stuff that was going on. I remember she had some beef with a couple people on the show. Spencer was involved. So it's kind of nice to see these people that we've pretty much been following their entire lives from adolescence, now that they're adults and now that they're married, and how they're dealing with these new types of relationship problems that they're having. But as far as I'm seeing, both sides are very amicable. They're moving on. They're kind of keeping the terms of their agreement hush hush, in hopes of, I think, just being able to turn a new page.
Interesting. I have a very good friend back home, obviously another Chicago Bears fan. and he posted something on Facebook recently. If you're out there, Tommy, you hear me on this, but he was comparing Cutler's stats with Elway's stats. And he said that had Cutler been with the Broncos during all that time, he actually would have surpassed the Broncos record for, you know, everything and stuff. So apparently he was a better quarterback than a lot of people gave him credit for.
You got to be careful when you compare people to John Elway. I'm just going to caution you. So
I'm not making,
might lose a couple fans.
yeah, my friend was the one making the comparison. I'm not that big of a professional football fan. I should be more. I just, whenever the Bears are winning, you know, that's when I start tuning in, which is very rare through the years, since 1986 or whatever it was when we had our heyday. But that's very interesting. You know, the celebrities, when they're both making tons of money like that,
right?
Typically, you know, in a lot of assets, typically it's like you said, it's kind of a private settlement of the case. You know, and the way to do that, of course, is, you know, behind the scenes they sign a marital settlement agreement.
Right.
And that agreement doesn't necessarily, in its entirety, make it to the court file. So, you know, if you were to go into the public record to see these divorces, I think on Kelly Clarkson, you would see a lot more. There's probably declarations and all kinds of stuff, where in Cutler's case, it's probably a pretty thin file, I'm going to guess.
I wonder if the stuff that gets sent around the news media and said in, you know, social media and press and stuff, when it comes time to either trial or for a hearing, does the judge know about it, and whether does that influence anything that happens in the court? I'm very curious to know whether that's an issue that they had to deal with on these types of cases.
You know, I've been in court many times where there's been celebrities, either in the courtroom that I'm in or in the hallway. And that always strikes me as well. If it were a jury, you know, there's sometimes the attempt to sequester the jury, so they don't read the papers and all this other stuff. My feeling is that all human beings on this earth have a bias, you know, and most judges are 99.9% are well-read, and, you know, they're not ignorant to what's going on out there. I wonder about that too, especially when there's press statements, you know.
Absolutely.
Wow. And whether or not they're a Cutler fan, or, you know, whether they like
the Bears.
How could you not love those guys? Come on. So
no, I actually have an observation. I actually noticed a pattern with our podcast. I think we might be a little bit of bad luck.
Oh, really?
Let me lay it out for you. So we have Dr. Dre, who's in the hospital with a brain aneurysm. Larry King, who's in the hospital with coronavirus.
Oh, wow.
Kim Kardashian and Kanye are actually going through a divorce now. What else? Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty...
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to blame it on us, but it shows you that we're covering the stories accurately. You know, and unfortunately, divorces are not pretty, you know, and nobody's immune from that. I don't care. You know, there's an exception. I think that, you know, Kelly's divorce is pretty common, right? I mean, with the fight over custody, you know, and then when we talk about Cutler's divorce, you know, we don't see that many. I don't think they're percentage-wise, there's as many that are amicable. Very rarely, you know, in the few years that I've been doing this, you know, the 20-something years I've been doing this, I've only seen really a handful of cases where people are really sweet with each other and they handle things in a mature way. And it's just human nature, I think, you know. Yeah. You guys have any other cases? Any other stories?
I think we have to talk about Kim and Kanye and Dr. Dre. The Dr. Dre story is a roller coaster, I would have to say. The stuff that's been going on, the aneurysm, and I think while he was in the hospital, someone tried to break into his house and rob him. And I think he's still in the hospital right now recovering. But while he was in the hospital, one of his ex-wives said, because he's already had some issues with domestic violence in one of his previous marriages, I think this just came out, that during, you know, their arguments, he would kind of fly off the handle and pull out his gun and point it at her head.
Wait. That's allegedly. That's
allegedly. Yeah, that's allegedly. So remember, this is from a previous marriage. There's no real reason to put that in the media anymore to gain.
Oh, I disagree. I think that it's, you know, we have to say allegedly because that people carry axes, you know, and they never get over certain things and stuff. It may have happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I think we need to be careful and not say that he was guilty of that. You know what I mean? People put all kinds of stuff in declarations, but as Arnold once said, Arnold Schwarzenegger, when there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Right. And it's not the first time he's had issues allegedly with domestic violence. Like he's settled out a civil suit for domestic battery. That was an issue. Like I said, it was brought up in the previous divorce process. And now that it looks like he's going through another divorce, the allegations are starting to bubble up again. We don't know if it's going to be a part of this most recent divorce filing, but it's definitely something to consider given the history that he has with that particular.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stephanie had talked about on a prior Celebrity Exhibit A that there was a premarital agreement that she was fighting, if I recall right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she really is like swinging with both arms, man, trying to get something out of this thing. I have peeked at a couple of articles, and I don't think that she's been very victorious in a lot of her requests.
Right.
Yeah, I think her request for a large amount of spousal support was shut down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you think about someone of Dr. Dre's notoriety and stature at the time that he got married to Nicole Young, that he probably had a very competent, skilled team of attorneys draft up a very tight prenuptial agreement just to prevent anything like this from happening.
Right, especially if he was previously divorced.
Oh, yeah.
Learned his lesson.
Exactly. Fool me once, shame on me, right?
So what about the Kardashian case? Tell me about that, Anthony.
Kardashians are really interesting. So obviously Kim and Kanye, they're obviously not gonna make it. It doesn't seem like. There was some discussion for a little bit about, oh, maybe they're just going through a rough period, but it seems like Kim's kind of fed up with all the crazy stuff that Kanye's been doing. I know he was trying to get involved with politics for a little bit and considered running for president, but missed the filing deadline. He's been saying a lot of wild stuff in the news media, and it seems like Kim's just kind of fed up with it. She's concerned about the children. The latest report, I think the rumor is that someone close to Kim is saying that the children don't know about the divorce, which is pretty crazy because it seems like everybody in the entire world knows about the divorce. But what are the realistic possibilities of keeping celebrity children sheltered or prevented from knowing that their parents are going through a very, very high conflict and a very high profile divorce?
I've got a couple of thoughts about that. One of them is the difficulty that parents have in talking to their kids about the divorce. That's a really tough one. And apparently neither one of them were in a hurry to do so.
Apparently, like Anthony said, she's fed up with Kanye's antics and she's starting to get really serious about taking the California bar exam. She wants to become an attorney. So apparently they've been in marriage counseling for several months and nothing's happening. But here's like the shocking detail that I read, that they're saving the details of the divorce to disclose it on their TV reality show.
Okay.
I don't know how that's going to pan out. But
if there's one thing that Kim is good at, it's using the public channels and the media to her benefit. I think she's a master of kind of controlling the narrative and letting it leak out in a very kind of methodical way, in a way that just kind of wants us coming back for more.
Right.
I have never watched their Kardashian episode, but this is one that I might watch because it's going to remind me of the marriage story or the Broderick, story. I mean, there might be some value as a family law attorney to see what's going on in this case.
It's a guilty pleasure. I'll just say that much. I usually turn it off when someone walks in the room, but I do enjoy an occasional episode.
It's definitely entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not intellectually stimulating in any kind of sense of the word, but if there's really nothing else on, it's not the worst thing you can watch, I would say.
Yeah. How old are the kids in that marriage? Do we know?
They're pretty young.
Yeah,
I would say young. 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So there's no real threat that they're going to be in school and kids are going to be coming up to them and talking to them about their parents or anything like that. It doesn't sound like, so that's good.
I don't think
No,
so.
but I mean, it raises the question: when is the right age for parents to discuss the topic of divorce? I mean, obviously, there's an age where children really start to get a grasp of what's going on and conflict within the household. I think I read an article a couple of days ago saying that children who are in households in which there's a lot of arguing, they develop personality issues. They become anxious. They have more likelihood of depression, things like that down the road. So, what is a good age to approach the subject of divorce with children, or is it something that if they're at a certain age, like Kanye and Kim's kids, maybe they can just weather it out and not know about it until they ultimately get around to an age where they're able to understand that.
Right. Like, do you set up some sort of transition? I mean, I've heard of a case where, parents are going through a divorce. There's one little kid and the dad moves out, but he still comes to the house every day to spend time with the child so that the child
Right.
doesn't really know if dad has moved out or something's going on.
I mean, what an incredibly awkward type of arrangement, but I mean, people will do a lot of things just to kind of protect their children. I think, that's the most really the most important asset of the marriage with the children. So if it comes to coming up with a very unusual type of custodial arrangement like that, and I definitely seen it before, where
Yeah.
they'll sacrifice their own comfort just to keep things normal as possible for the kids.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's harder on younger kids, kids that are, say, under the age of 10 maybe or 8, when they can't really understand why their security, why that family security is breaking apart.
Right.
Mhm.
Conversely, kids that are in their teens, what I've heard a lot is that the kids knew that it was coming. There wasn't a surprise. And a lot of times they're like, I want them to divorce because, things aren't good around the house,
Right.
and stuff. It's not all cases, but that's kind of a trend that I've seen, and stuff. So, okay. Well, I've got one that I'm going to say that it's not a divorce. It's not a legal separation yet. Okay. But we've got a ex-president that just left the White House. And what I've heard is that there was a postnuptial agreement signed prior to the former first lady moving into the White House. And I'm only bringing this up because there has been a lot of speculation, I think, with articles and stuff talking about the possible divorce. I don't have any knowledge of that, or I don't know if that's true. I hope it isn't. But I'll say this is that anytime that somebody's come to me with a postnuptial agreement request, it's kind of like an introduction to a divorce because something's wrong with the marriage.
Right.
Why are they doing that? Why are they contemplating that now?
Yeah.
A lot of times it's an unequal balance, in the relationship, feeling of insecurity, and that type of a thing. So this is one for you guys to keep your eyes on. Okay. So let's see what happens with that. I mean, now that presumably they're in Mar-a-Lago or whatever that place is called, and
Yeah.
sipping on some nice drinks and figuring out what their future is and stuff. But who
I think
knows?
he's got
what's
some
gonna happen
legal
with it.
issues coming up that he might have to get.
Yeah, he might. Right. He might have some other issues to deal with.
Well, just stand in line, right? Stand in
Yeah.
line with all my
Right.
legal.
But he may have a criminal case and a family law case on his hands pretty soon.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
I mean, sometimes we forget that he actually has a little kid, right?
That's right.
Darren. Like
Yeah.
they're still Darren. So
Right.
what are they gonna do with?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about too. Is that not only there's a postnuptial situation there, but there's a child. Again, I hear other things that Melania is very loyal to her husband and is willing to weather the storm and everything like that. But when I heard the postnuptial, I thought, I don't know about that. So keep your eye on it. Okay.
He
Well,
took
this
a
was
lot of damage by going through the White House and going through that presidency. I think probably more than any reasonable person would want to go through
Right.
as a result of the stuff that their spouses do. When we talk about Kim and Kanye and all the stuff that he's doing and how that kind of wears down on the other spouse, you have to wonder if maybe some of Donald Trump's antics while he was in office might be wearing her down, and maybe she's kind of considering, is this a time to make the exit now?
Right. I think even any typical presidency, right, would have some sort of negative effect on a relationship. I mean, the things they had to go through with those 4 years, and
Right.
so let's see what happens to the
We'll
Trump.
have to see. Keep our eyes on the news, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, well, this was fantastic again. Good way to start off 2021, and we'll see you in about a month, and we'll follow up on these stories and possibly some other ones. You never know. There might be some other celebrities divorcing out there.
Okay.
Thank
Happy
you.
2021, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.